Have you ever felt like your mind is a battlefield, yet you walk into it unarmed? You wake up with intentions, promises, silent vows to yourself, but somewhere between the first thought and the first action, everything collapses. Not because you are weak, but because no one ever taught you how to train your will. The ancient samurai understood something that modern life tries to drown out. Willpower is not a spark of motivation, not a burst of inspiration, not a lucky surge of energy. It is a discipline, a method, a quiet forging of the spirit that turns ordinary people into warriors capable of doing what others avoid. And this method, almost forgotten today, holds the power to transform the way you move through your life. Imagine standing at the foot of a mountain just before sunrise. The air is cold, the ground still holding the silence of night. Beside you, an old samurai master watches the horizon without saying a word. He is not interested in hype or motivational speeches. His strength is carved from decades of repetition, clarity, and presence. When he finally speaks, his voice is calm, almost like a prayer carried by the wind. Strength comes from stillness. Discipline comes from decision. Willpower comes from repetition. These are his first teachings, and they strike you because they are not loud, they are true. The samurai believed that the battle of the day is won or lost in the invisible moment that exists between the thought and the action. Most people feel intention rising and immediately suffocated with excuses. I'm tired. I'll start tomorrow. It's not the right time. The master explains that hesitation is not a flaw. It is an untrained mind. When purpose becomes clear, hesitation disappears. As you walk up the mountain path with him, every step slow and grounded, he tells you, your mind breaks because you give it options. A warrior gives his mind only direction. Imagine living your life this way. Imagine waking up tomorrow and, instead of asking yourself, do I feel like doing what I need to do? You simply state, this is what I do, because this is who I am. Discipline stops being a debate and becomes an identity. The second lesson the master offers is what the samurai called the one-thought rule. A scattered mind becomes a defeated mind, so the samurai trained themselves to bring all their energy into one single point of focus. One moment, one task, one breath, one decision. Not 10 goals, not 20 desires. Only one clear command to the self. This is how willpower grows, not through force, but through presence. Imagine starting your day with just one non-negotiable task, one action you complete with full attention and zero negotiation. Do this for a week and your mind feels different, sharper. Do it for a month and you begin to feel unshakable. Willpower is not built in grand gestures. It is built in small repetitions that tell your mind you can trust yourself. As you reach a wooden bridge, crossing a quiet stream, the master stops and finally looks at you. His eyes carry the weight of thousands of warriors before him. Your greatest enemy is not laziness, he says. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are. The words cut deeper than a blade, because you know they are true. If you tell yourself you are inconsistent, your actions will follow that story. If you tell yourself you are easily distracted, your habits will prove it. But if, day after day, through small rituals and completed promises you tell yourself, I am someone who honors my own decisions, your identity changes. And once identity changes, willpower becomes effortless. This is the heart of the samurai method. Identity over motivation, ritual over mood, clarity over chaos. You do not need to feel ready. You need to decide who you are becoming. And the samurai believed that every morning, before touching their weapons, before beginning their duties, they had to answer one question. What kind of warrior will I be today? You may not carry a sword, but your life demands the same commitment. The world will continue to pull you in different directions. Distractions will call your name. Fear will whisper doubts. And comfort will try to seduce you back into old habits. But when you walk with the inner posture of a samurai, when your will is trained, not just hoped for, you become the kind of person who moves forward, even when the mind tries to resist. This is only the beginning of the method, only the first steps of a deeper discipline that can reshape your life from the inside out. The samurai master continues walking, his steps so controlled that each one seems intentional, as if every movement carries a lesson. He tells you that most people fail, not because they lack strength, but because they wait for strength to appear before acting. A warrior acts first, and strength follows. This is the third pillar of the samurai method: action before emotion. While the world teaches you to wait for motivation, the samurai trained themselves to move even when the heart felt uncertain. They understood a truth modern psychology only later discovered. Your mind obeys the body more than the body obeys the mind. When you act with discipline, even in small ways, you send a message to yourself: I am in control. And slowly, the inner storms quiet down. You sit with the master beneath a cedar tree, watching leaves fall with slow, elegant movements. He explains that willpower is not a fire that burns constantly. No one can stay intense every day. The samurai were not superhuman. They simply learned how to protect their energy from needless waste. They practiced what they called inner economy, saving their mental strength for what truly mattered. Instead of chasing distractions, they trimmed away everything non-essential. Instead of worrying about the future, they anchored themselves in the present. Instead of letting emotions spiral, they acknowledged them without surrendering to them. Every choice protected the flame of will, allowing it to grow instead of flicker out. Then he shares the practice that shaped the spirit of every warrior: the ritual of deliberate repetition. Samurai believed that repetition was the forge in which identity was hammered into steel. Not mindless repetition, but conscious repetition. Every morning, they repeated small tasks with attention, arranging their clothing, preparing tea, sharpening the blade, meditating while listening to the heartbeat of silence. These simple actions were not about skill. They were about training the soul to obey intention. When the mind sees that you follow through in small things, it becomes easier to follow through in big ones. The master reminds you, if you cannot lead yourself in the morning, you cannot lead yourself in life. As you continue walking, he asks you a question you were not expecting. When you break a promise to yourself, who suffers the consequences? The answer is obvious. You do. Yet people break these promises daily and wonder why they feel powerless. The samurai believed that every broken promise weakens the inner sword, while every honored promise sharpens it. Willpower is not a mysterious force. It is the accumulated weight of thousands of choices that tell your mind whether you can trust yourself. When trust is broken, your will collapses. When trust is built, your will becomes unshakable. This is why they treated small tasks with the seriousness of life or death decisions, because to them, discipline was not about perfection, but about integrity. You finally reach the top of the mountain. The wind is stronger there, carrying the scent of pine and the echo of distant valleys. The master stands beside you in silence for a moment. Then he tells you the final truth, the one the samurai guarded more than any combat technique. Willpower is not the force that pushes you forward. It is the force that keeps you from stepping away. People think willpower is about fighting through storms, but the master explains that real strength comes from steadfastness, from staying on the path even when progress feels invisible. Success is not built by explosive effort. It is built by consistency, by the quiet refusal to abandon what matters. This is the virtue the samurai called Fudoshin, the immovable mind, not cold, not emotionless, but rooted like a tree that bends with the wind without breaking. He tells you that every person carries a battlefield inside, the battlefield between who they are and who they want to become. The samurai method does not eliminate the battle. It trains you to win it. By choosing identity over emotion, clarity over confusion, action over hesitation, and repetition over chaos, you begin to see yourself transforming. Not suddenly, but undeniably. You start waking up with intention, moving with purpose, speaking with conviction, finishing what you begin. You no longer rely on motivation because you have something stronger, self-respect. The samurai believed that discipline is the highest form of self-love because it proves that your future matters more than your comfort. As the sun begins to set, the sky glows with orange and soft gold. The master turns to you one last time and says, "When your will becomes unbreakable, your life becomes unstoppable." He places his hand gently on your shoulder and adds, "Do not seek an easier path. Seek a stronger spirit." And in that moment, you understand that the strength you admired in others was never something they were born with. It was something they trained, patiently, consistently, quietly, until it became a part of their very nature. As you descend the mountain, there is no applause, no dramatic ending, no sudden transformation. Only a new awareness settling inside you like a seed. The samurai method is not a secret reserved for ancient warriors. It is a way of living available to anyone willing to honor their own decisions. You walk down the path knowing that your life can now change, not because circumstances will become easier, but because you will become stronger.